Do you have a stubborn eater, or did your snake go on a food strike? Oh, here's some quick tips and tricks that could hopefully help with your problem. The last two suggestions are definitely interesting, especially that second to last one. Never hurts to try. Let's just get this one out of the way. Most people already know about this temperature and humidity, right? If the temperature is off, it's not going to help them digest their food, right? They need that temperature to digest their food. So if that's off, can you blame them for not wanting to eat? If you don't know their temperature, right, you got a hot spot of 88 to 92, cold spot of 75 to 82. Keep in mind, people always change these numbers. So one person will say this, one person will say that, but it's in the ballpark range, and that's what matters. Humidity, you want to keep it around 50 to 60%. Obviously, you can bump it up if they're about to go in a shed. You don't want to go too crazy because then you'll cause a lot more issues. All right, let's jump into our second tip. Maybe they're just tired of eating rats, right? Maybe they just want that cute little mouse. And, like, I'd rather eat a cute mouse over a rat. I'm just saying. I personally have some animals that do better with eating mice over rats. And let's say you're feeding a medium to a large size rat, right? And they would just refuse. And you start feeding them mice. You can feed them 2 times, right? It's not that big of a deal. They're still small. They don't take up around the same space. I've personally never gotten to the point where I've had to try hamsters, gerbils, or chicks, but I know people have done them. I know they work. If you've ever fed your snake a hamster, a gerbil, or a chick, comment below. Let us know how they work for you. And if you're feeding them frozen thawed and they're just refusing that frozen thawed, they don't like your zombie enhance abilities, offer them live. It's not going to hurt if you offer it, right? If you just sit there and kind of keep an eye on it. If they're a shy eater, then you kind of have to like let them go and let them do their own thing. Just give it a few minutes and see if they hear a little squeak. But just offer them live. Some animals like the live action. I can't blame them. I like a live action too sometimes. This one could also be an issue. Too large or too small, right? If it's too small, they might not be interested. If it's too large, it's going to scare them. They're going to be overwhelmed, right? You're not going to take on a big ass predator. You would rather take on something that you think you can take on confidently. And just because they take on something bigger doesn't mean they'll consume it. They'll kill it and they'll just leave it. They won't consume it. I don't know if you've ever fed a large snake, a small mouse. It looks funny. It doesn't look right. They just hold it in their mouth and it just looks wrong. So that's why you want to make sure the meal is appropriate size for the animal. Maybe they don't feel comfortable in their enclosure size, right? Maybe their enclosure is just too big for them and it's overwhelming. They don't feel safe and secure. I've taken snakes and I've taken them from a bigger enclosure and I put them in a small little tub and they felt safe and secure. I left them in there for a day and boom, next day they were eating. So sometimes it just depends on the size, right? You can offer more hides. Maybe they're just not happy with their home setup, so you just got to change up their enclosure just a bit to make them happy. At the end of the day, you're not the one living inside the enclosure; they are. So if they don't feel safe and secure, you can't blame them for not wanting to eat. This can be a pro, and this can be a con. Breeding, right? Throw a male in with a female. This could get the female to start eating a lot more because she needs to put on some size because she needs to build follicles to build eggs, right? It's not guaranteed to do that. This could also do the exact opposite, right? This could get them to stop eating. Males will go on hunger strikes, food strikes, whatever you want to call that, because they are too busy wanting to breed. This one you definitely want to be careful with because it could have negative results, but it could also have positive results. So take this one with a grain of salt. It could work, could not work. Don't want to promise anything, but I've had it work. You just need to be careful while doing this one, especially if your animal's too small. This one I find really interesting. I've never done it, but I've seen the video on it, right? A road trip, right? Take your car, take your snake on a road trip, right? Balls of Fury, he's the guy who I saw doing this. He's taken 3 of his snakes out that are stubborn eaters that refuse to eat. He'll just go to the car wash, get his car washed. He'll bring a snake. He has them in an enclosure. He puts a rodent in there. I don't know if it's live or frozen, but he's gotten 3 of his stubborn eaters to eat. It's definitely an interesting concept. I mean, if you've tried it, let me know if that works. I mean, if you've tried everything else, a road trip doesn't hurt, right? It's like taking a crying child on a road trip, right? You want them to take a nap, just put them in the car, take them for a drive. Maybe it's like the same thing for snakes. Maybe it just gets their appetite ready to go. Have you tried guilt trip? Just give them those sad puppy eyes, give them that sad voice, just everything, right? Even though they're not going to listen to you or have any idea what the fuck's happening because their hearing's definitely not the same as ours. But guilt trip, man. My grandma did it to me as a kid, and that shit worked real fucking well. So maybe we should just try it on your pet. Who knows? I haven't tried it yet, but you could definitely try it. Results may vary. Just keep that in mind.